Anyone who ends up trapped in this prison called LAG, well, forget freedom. You either accept your fate or claw your way through survival. Bodies litter the ground, heads roll across the floor, and blood paints every corner. A samurai woman charges in, only to get cut down instantly. Her killer doesn't last either, ambushed and slain. That's the rhythm here. Kill or be killed. Only the strong make it out alive. Commanding the chaos is Lee Jong-hyuk, barking orders to his squad to take down this unstoppable monster. One fighter with freezing powers manages to lock it in place for a heartbeat. That's all Stepan and Wade need. They rush in, blades flashing, severing both of the monster's arms. But arrogance kills. The other survivors drop their guard, and the monster's tentacles rip through them like paper. Heads explode, limbs scatter. Yup, it's brutal. This beast is way deadlier than they imagined. Lee steps forward himself, ready to finish it. But the monster lashes out with tentacles stretching 20 meters, forcing him back. He activates Heist, lightening his sword in his own body, darting faster than ever. The monster fires its trump card, an explosive beam straight from its brain. Lee launches skyward, dodges midair, and brings down the Sword of Light, slicing the monster apart. Mission complete. Reward, 10 souls. Wait, souls? Like Dark Souls loot drops? Oh, this just got spicy. But victory comes at a cost. Half the squad is gone. And then the twist. One of his own stabs Lee in the back. What? The man just saved them, and they repay him with betrayal. Lee shrugs off the stab, but Wade jumps in, hacking off his arm. More traitors pile on, stabbing him again and again. These clowns want his souls. Villains really are born, huh? They even slaughter Lee's trusted allies. For a moment, Lee thinks about giving up. After all those floors, maybe it's time to let go. But nah, he refuses. Even with one arm, he bites down and kills the traitor in front of him. Like a beast unleashed, he dominates the fight. Still, numbers overwhelm. His other arm gets cut off. Wade charges in and beheads him. Just like that, Lee falls. Idiots. They knew he was stronger, yet they killed him anyway. What can I say? An idiot stays an idiot. Looks like the story's over before it even began. Just kidding. This is LAG. Death here isn't the end. It's just the next stage. Lee wakes up again. That's the curse of this place. No escape, no peace, not even the mercy of death. Of course, our guy started screaming like a maniac. Imagine it. He was almost at the last floor, and boom, he gets killed. Now he's forced to climb through all those floors again. If you die, you repeat it, over and over. That scream, it tells you everything. Our boy has died at least 500 times to be howling like that. No wonder he's pissed. He rages for minutes, but let's be real. Whining won't change a damn thing. Buddy, get ready for the next round. The first floor always starts the same, but the difference is whether you're alone or with others. This time, Lee's solo. Lucky for him, he's been here enough times to know the hidden trigger that opens the door. In the past, he's died here from thirst and hunger more times than he can count. And when he wasn't alone, worse, people killed each other, ate each other. Yeah, cannibalism. That's the nightmare of LAG. Anyone thrown into this hell gets an awakening. Before all this, Lee was just an ordinary Korean man. Now, seeing the word LAG drives him nuts. It's like the internet lag we all hate, but here, it feels like his life itself is lagging. This time, he swears no more deaths. He's reaching the last floor no matter what. First step, enter the floor, verify identity, and begin awakening. Once the process finishes, skills are handed out randomly. He gets 3 active skills, light, flame, and pant, plus a passive skill, barehanded combat. The final goal of LAG? Reach the lowest basement level. Let's check his attributes. Publicly, he can only hold 2 active skills. Privately though, oh boy, he hit the jackpot. Infinite passive skills. Yup, infinite. Even Lee's shocked. Usually, players get around 10 active skills max, and passive skills are capped at 2. But Lee? He breaks the rules. Now, does this mean others can cheat death too? If so, things just got way more interesting. Sure, only 2 active skills is a downside, but infinite passive skills? That's overpowered. Passive skills are usually the strongest in games anyway. Next up, weapons. He pulls a mini pickaxe that boosts muscle strength by 1%. Sounds weak, right? But trust me, it's better than the nonsense he's gotten before, like a toy ship, a toy hammer, or even a condom. LOL. Yup, imagine trying to fight zombies with that. Now he has to choose between B1-1 or B1-2. In the past, he'd go B1-1, but this time, B1-2 is the smarter move. He descends the long stairs, enters a pitch-black room, and uses his light skill as a flashlight. Once you enter a space and shut the door, there's no going back. This floor's mission, annihilate zombies. Rewards, we'll get to those later. Lee hugs the wall, narrowing the defense range, moving quietly. He knows what's coming. He's done this floor before. 3 zombies appear. Normally, they shuffle slow, but as one gets close, it suddenly dashes at insane speed. Thankfully, Lee's fought zombies before and knows their weakness, the head. Destroy anything else, they keep moving. He's even been beaten by head-only zombies in the past. Their movements are trickier than you'd expect. 2 zombies rush him. Lee unleashes flame, engulfing them in fire. And here's why he picked B1-2. Zombies are weak to fire, and with his flame skill plus the pickaxe, he's got the perfect combo. But then something new. A zombie kid sneaks in from behind. Even Lee's shocked. He's never seen such a tiny monster. He takes it down, but the surprise lingers. Rewards drop. Passive skill tough skin, and a key to B2-1. Lucky again. Remember, he can only keep 2 active skills, so if he'd gotten another active one, he'd have to ditch light or flame. But passive? That's perfect. Now he's stacking 3 passive skills. Passive skills boost physical ability the most, and with infinite slots, Lee's chances of reaching the last floor are higher than ever, assuming betrayal doesn't strike again. And just so you understand the mechanics of LAG, after awakening, players get info. Not everything, but enough. Names, public attributes, and highest skill levels are visible to others. Next floor, our guy faces a choice, B2-1 or B2-2. B2-1 requires the key he just earned, while B2-2 is open to anyone. Of course, Lee knows better. He picks B2-1. The mission window pops up. Kill the bug behind the wall. Simple enough, but let me break down the naming so you don't get lost. B2 means the second basement floor. The 1 after it means the first space of B2-1. And that extra 1 in the middle, that's the division within the second basement floor. Lee's been here before, and one thing still bothers him. Right by the door, a man is sitting asleep. This is Kim Tae-min, whose highest skill is breathing underwater. Weird flex, isn't it? Tae-min wakes up, sees Lee's info, and he's holding a hammer that boosts muscle strength. Notice the blood on that hammer, because trust me, that detail is going to matter later. When Lee asks what he's doing, Tae-min starts stuttering. And Lee? He's no fool. If Tae-min had cleared B1-1, he wouldn't even be able to enter B2-1 without a key. Plus, with breathing underwater as his top skill, there's no way he fought through zombies on the surface. So what does that mean? Either someone else cleared B2-1 first, or Tae-min came down from B1-2, or even the first floor. See, after countless deaths, Lee's become sharp. He pieces it together. Tae-min was with someone, they cleared the mission together, but that partner got killed by zombies. LOL, does this guy really think we're dumb? You already know what happened. Lee plays dumb, pretending to believe him, forcing Tae-min to relax. Chit-chat over, they move deeper. And suddenly, bam, a forest. Like, bro, where did this come from? This is a prison, not a national park. No ceiling above, just a sky they can't tell if it's real or fake. As they walk, Tae-min won't shut up, asking questions nonstop. Lee's already annoyed. He's been here before, he knows the drill. Just follow, dude. But then Tae-min's expression shifts for a moment. Suspicious. You can't trust anyone in LAG. Lee looks up, expecting it. A wooden spider drops down. It slams into the ground, both of them dodge. But here's the thing. Did you see Tae-min's movement? That wasn't cowardly at all. How does a supposed weakling move like that? Lee knows firsthand. Getting hit by this spider is fatal. He's died to it before. The spider launches its assault, but Lee's agility is insane now. He dodges everything with ease. Tae-min just stands there, watching, not moving. And Lee knows. This guy's waiting for the right moment. Betrayal is written all over him. Lee strikes the spider, but his attack does no damage. And right then, Tae-min moves from behind. Is he targeting the spider? No, he's aiming at Lee. Just like I told you, this bastard's a traitor after all. Tae-min didn't aim at Lee at all. Instead, he unleashed his skill, explosive attack, blasting the spider. I was dead sure he was about to betray our guy, but nope. He actually helped. Well, that's something, I guess. Lee follows up, striking the spider's leg, ripping it off. Tae-min fires again, ending another strike. Once the spider's immobilized, Lee moves in and finishes it for good. Now, Lee starts analyzing Tae-min. He notices Tae-min can chain his skills multiple times in a row. But the catch? Look at him sighing, exhausted. That means Tae-min doesn't have any passive skill to recover his physical strength. And you've got to understand something. Lee isn't keeping Tae-min alive out of trust. He's using him. The biggest reason Tae-min's still breathing is because Lee knows he can kill him anytime. As they push deeper, more spiders swarm. Only one option left, run. Lee leads Tae-min straight into a dead end. Tae-min freaks out, screaming it's Lee's fault they're trapped. But Lee? He already has a plan. Truth is, he almost killed Tae-min out of sheer annoyance. See, B2-1-1 looks like a forest, but it's not infinite. Spiders flock here naturally. Lee ignites the trees with his flame skill, then orders Tae-min to use his explosive attack to spread the fire. Tae-min's shards scatter, igniting making more trees. Soon, the entire forest is blazing. And since the spiders are made of wood, they burn to ash. Mission complete. Rewards roll in. Lee contributed 94%, so he gets the lion's share. He earns a pair of nice boots, and his bare-handed fighting passive skill levels up. So after burning down the forest and collecting his rewards, our guy heads straight to the spider's corpse. Why? He's looking to take its soul. In LAG, souls are basically skill points. Absorb them, and you can level up your skills. But it's not always simple. Sometimes you need multiple souls depending on the type and level of the skill. Souls can be stored inside the player's body, consumed when needed, or even used as currency, just like in Souls games. Now Tae-min, who barely contributed, thinks he deserves a soul too. Lee's like, bro, are you serious? Tae-min tries, but he can't absorb it. Instead, a timer pops up. 4 hours until the soul is released. That's the rule. Souls belong to whoever contributed the most in killing the monster. If the owner doesn't claim it within 4 hours or renounces it, then someone else can take it. But until then, no one else can touch it. Lee steps in, absorbs the soul, and smirks at Tae-min, taunting him. That's when Tae-min's mask finally drops. He dashes from behind, trying to use his skill on Lee. But Lee doesn't even look back. He counters perfectly, stabbing Tae-min in the neck. Death fits traitors. The genius part, though, Lee points out Tae-min's mistake. Remember the blood on his hammer when they first met? That was the clue. Zombies don't bleed, which means Tae-min's hammer was stained with human blood. Add to that, Tae-min knew about souls. Zombies on the first basement floor don't drop souls. So Tae-min must have killed his partner and taken his soul. That's who he really was, a human hunter. Some players in LAG hunt humans as well as monsters, and Tae-min was one of them. Once Lee finishes him off, a soul emerges from Tae-min's body. So yeah, souls come from humans too. Our protagonist's sharp thinking after enduring countless deaths really shines here. Now Lee's got a new weapon, Tae-min's hammer. LOL, he looks like an engineer swinging that thing. He moves forward, reaching floor B2-1-2. Think of this place as a checkpoint. You can rest and reorganize here, but dying won't bring you back to it. Inside there are 2 rooms, shower and LAG. First, Lee enters LAG, where a vendor is waiting. Vendors are eerie, silent, like virtual projections without substance. But don't mess with them. In the past, one of Lee's companions waved his hand at a vendor, and it got sliced clean off. Vendors don't appear on every floor, so Lee's determined to trade while he can. First stop, equipment. Transactions are simple. Lee can see the attributes of items just by looking. Next, he checks the armor tab. With 3 souls in hand, he browses items he can afford. Once Lee finished picking his gear, the vendor stretched out his arm. Payment time. 3 souls for 3 pieces of equipment. Lee trades them in and walks away with elastic pants, a jacket, and a leather hip sack. Now our boy looks sharper than ever. And the vendor? He even hands over cooked meat and water, taking care of his customers. That meat wasn't ordinary. It was Taurus meat, from a monster you only encounter once you've descended at least 7 basement floors. That's premium stuff. With his stomach full, Lee heads toward the shower. But before he can open the door, it swings open on its own. Lee hides behind it, watching. Out steps a woman, Emma Garcia. She doesn't realize he's there. In LAG, whenever someone enters a space, a message appears, but only for that person unless they enter together. Emma stretches casually, unaware she's being watched. She's got the ability to use 2 active skills at once. Things turn tense fast. Lee raises his axe, making it clear. 1 wrong move equals death. Emma complies, placing her equipment on the ground. She's carrying no souls, and she's alone. Lee suspects she might be scheming, so he orders her to open the shower room. Empty. She was telling the truth. Emma wasn't always alone. She had a companion who chose B2-2-2. After completing a mission in B2-2-1, 2 doors appeared. Her partner went deeper into B2-2-2, while Emma ended up here in B2-1-2. Lee's stunned. This has never happened before. Normally, paths don't cross like this. If someone goes through B2-1-1 and another through B2-2-1, they can't meet again until the next floor. But Emma somehow shifted from B2-2-1 into B2-1-2. Lee adapts quickly. In LAG, players can choose between 2 paths at crossroads. This new variable means he can still pick whichever door offers the best rewards. Emma explains she ditched her partner because he was a pervert. Now Lee faces a choice: kill Emma or let her tag along. He's fed up with traitors, so killing her would be the safe bet. But the reward? Just 1 soul. Not worth it. Plus, Emma shows a solid understanding of LAG. It's rare to meet someone like that on the 2nd basement floor. LOL. Lee even asks her if she thinks she can kill him. She starts rambling about her sexiness, athleticism, and intelligence. For now, Lee lets her live. He can always kill her later if needed. The moment he spares her, Emma turns and freezes, stunned by his looks. She admits he's more handsome than she thought. LOL. Then she bends down to pick up her equipment, striking a pose that looks more like teasing than anything else. Anyway, time to move on. Next stop, B2-1-3. And even though Lee's in a hurry, he plays the gentleman, letting Emma enter first. Manners make the man, even in hell like LAG. Once Lee and Emma reached the surveillance room, the sight was grim. 2 players hanging lifelessly. On the screens, the footage revealed what awaited them, a massive maze. And not just any maze, this thing looked endless, twisting and stretching beyond reason. In the footage, a player was desperately running. But what he was running from? None other than the masked lion. Lee froze. Shock hit him hard. This monster had never appeared on the B2 floor before. Was LAG changing? The lion tore into the fleeing player, devouring him. In desperation, the player fired off his skill, Ice Spear, leaving a mark on the beast. But it wasn't enough. He died moments later. Before, the maze always spawned random monsters, but never the masked lion. Now Lee and Emma were staring down a nightmare, a maze that seemed impossible and an unkillable mob waiting inside. For a moment, Lee thought this was the end. Infinite passive skills sound great, but what's the use if you don't have them yet? Still, he reminded himself, survival is the only option. Emma, though frightened, didn't turn back. She studied the footage, trying to gather any scrap of information. And now you understand why those 2 players hanged themselves. They knew, against a beast like that, there was no chance. Death by their own hands was easier than facing the masked lion. Before entering, Emma revealed her active skills: Heist, Magic Missile, and Mark. Hearing that, Lee immediately realized her private attributes were tied to active skills. And Mark, that could be crucial inside the maze. Emma even wanted to share her passive skill, but Lee didn't care. Right now, only active skills mattered. Even then, Lee calculated the worst-case scenario. If someone had to die, better her than him. Past encounters didn't matter anymore. LAG was shifting, evolving. Even Lee couldn't predict what was coming next. And once they stepped inside, the maze swallowed them whole. Overwhelming, twisting, suffocating. It was too complex to even be called a maze. The goal this time is clear. Reach floor B3. Adding some flavors, our guy got a private mission. If you don't kill people and don't kill monsters, you'll earn extra rewards. That means Emma just got lucky. Our boy won't have to end her life for now. But it also complicates things. If he wants those rewards, he can't use her as bait. In fact, he'd have to save her if things spiral out of control. Our guy kept staring at her, wondering, what if her private mission is the opposite of his? Oh, that's interesting. Each player has their own private mission. That changes everything. Emma notices his stare and pokes her face, joking, "Are you looking at me because I'm that pretty?" She really thinks he's mesmerized. But in reality, our guy's calculating whether she's a liability or not. Now, even though Lee's been here countless times, he doesn't know the way to B3. The maze changes every time. 2 doors appear. Instead of wasting time, our boy spits on his hand. Gross, right? Emma thought so too. He touches the spit and chooses left. That's how people decided things back where he lived. Emma keeps talking loudly, but Lee reminds her to keep quiet. The lion could be lurking nearby. The path is a straight corridor, which is bad news. If the lion shows up, they can't outrun it. Our guy thinks, if he wears his speed boots and Emma uses Heist on him, he might survive. But she won't, which clashes with his private mission. They reach a corner, peek, then advance. And every time there's a choice, our boy uses the spit method again. Emma's probably thinking, is this guy really trusting spit to decide our fate? Hey, it's worked so far. Eventually, they hit a dead end. A player had met his end there. They're forced to backtrack, taking the straight road again. It's like LAG itself is mocking them. Face the lion, you fools. Our guy starts thinking of the worst. Screw the private mission. If things get messy, he'll use Emma as bait. Survival comes first. Now 3 roads appear. The middle one screams danger. Lee tells Emma to choose, but she's trembling like a child, leaving the decision to him. That makes him raise his guard even higher. Emma could be a traitor. You never know. As they move, the masked lion appears. Thankfully, they haven't stepped onto the road yet, so they duck into the corner. The lion doesn't see them. But then, the worst outcome. The beast starts walking down their path. If it reaches the corner, they're exposed. Lee's mind races. He needs a plan fast. He asks Emma her weight, 60 kilograms. Our guy came up with the strategy. She uses Heist on him. Then when he signals, she fires magic missiles forward, as many as she can. Once his body lightens, he gives the signal. Our guy launches flame. Emma fires her missiles, and the projectiles slam into the wall. Using the explosion as cover, Lee grabs Emma, leaps into the air, and hooks them onto the wall with his axe. To keep the lion's gaze down, he spreads a wide flame across the floor. The beast hates fire, so it won't approach. Lee believes if the lion doesn't find prey, it'll leave. Our guy notices something crucial. This lion has no mark on its eye. Remember the footage? The player who died left a mark on the lion. This one doesn't have it. Do you get it? There's not just one lion. There are multiple masked lions roaming the maze. The situation spiraled fast. The pickaxe started started slipping, threatening to fall. Even if our guy forced himself to hold on, the wall was cracking under the strain. A chunk broke loose, tumbling. If it hit the ground, they were finished. Lee braced with his leg, trying to hold it, but remember, he's carrying Emma while clinging to the wall. Balance was impossible. The piece fell, and it looked like game over. But Emma, with her flexibility, managed to twist her body down and catch it with her hand. She whispered, "Just a little more," but there was no way our guy could hold that much weight. Luckily, fate intervened. The lion below them heard footsteps, other players being chased by another masked lion. It turned away, distracted by the commotion. Before it left, Emma used her skill mark on the lion beneath them. With that, they could track its presence, knowing when it was near. Once marked, they dropped to the ground, scrambling to find an exit. They couldn't linger. Death would catch them if they did. They hit forked roads, dead ends twice, but managed to avoid the marked lion by steering away from its energy. Progress felt slow, but Lee sensed they were nearing the end. Then bad luck struck. Another lion appeared, feasting on a player. Our guy's luck really is cursed. The lion spotted them and gave chase. Worse, the marked lion was close too. And then the nightmare. A third lion appeared as they turned right. 3 masked lions cornered them. The marked lion tore down one of the fleeing players. In that chaos, our guy hurled Emma forward to check for a door. Yes, there was one. Lee and the remaining player dodged the lions, regrouping with Emma. The 3 sprinted, lions hot on their heels. Emma and Lee burst through the door, but the other player lagged. A lion grabbed his t-shirt. For a moment, it looked like our guy was going to sacrifice him, but instead he slashed the shirt, freeing him. The lions couldn't enter the floor, and the mission was finally complete. The blonde player introduced himself as Oylan O'Brien. LOL, what kind of name is that? Sounds like the Manhwa just ripped off Dylan O'Brien, the American actor. Talk about breaking immersion. Of course, our guy kept his distance from the man he just saved, Dylan. Dylan's public attribute revealed a skill level tied to movement, showing a +1 boost. That meant he had a passive skill enhancing his active movement ability. Surprisingly, Dylan ended up being the top contributor in the mission. You might think our boy did all the heavy lifting, but Dylan scored highest because he kept running around while being chased by the masked lion. Emma, on the other hand, only contributed 11%. Lucky for her, less than 10% means no reward at all. Rewards rolled in. Emma got the masked lion's bracelet, Dylan received the masked lion's sword, and our guy claimed the masked lion's mask, which granted the active skill masked lion growl. On top of that, since he completed his private mission, he now had 7 souls. Even better, he scored a bonus passive skill, Strong Bone level 3. Still, Lee couldn't help but wonder about Emma and Dylan's private missions. If their objectives clashed, betrayal could erupt at any moment. Emma and our guy were ready to fight Dylan if needed, but Dylan told them to lower their weapons. He wasn't planning to attack. But remember, this is LAG. Betrayal can happen anytime. Dylan suggested cooperation, wanting to survive together like before. Our guy shook his hand but made it clear. He doesn't need help. Just don't be a burden. Descending further, they faced 3 options. This was new. In the past, the 3rd basement floor only had 2 doors. Now, a new path appeared, B3-2. Dylan suggested going through B3-2, reasoning that the number meant more space. Not entirely wrong, but not entirely true either. When a floor has only 1 room, it's impossible to predict what's inside. Lee knew better. Instead of rushing deeper, it was smarter to descend gradually, gathering strength, like a roguelike game. He smelled something fishy about B3-2 and refused to take the highest risk. Our boy chose B3-1-1 since he knew what to expect. Dylan announced he'd go through B3-2, but our guy cut him off, saying he was heading to B3-1-1. Hearing that, Dylan changed his mind. He wanted to accompany Lee and Emma. Lee warned him, "If things get hard, don't blame me." Before entering, our guy put on the masked lion's mask. Emma and Dylan were spooked just looking at it, so Lee set it aside for now. He then used his souls to level up his passive skills, leaving himself with 1 soul. Once inside, the squad froze. The mission objective hadn't even appeared yet, but the room was packed with players. They were small fry among giants. Weapons drawn, they braced for what was coming. Our guy calculated quickly. He could take at least 5 enemies, but that meant dying too. Their odds would improve if Emma and Dylan revealed their true strength. Thankfully, the leader of the gathered players stepped forward, Dwayne Smith. This Manhwa really loves dropping famous names, huh? Smith's skill was insane. Physical strength increases by 10% with each piece of equipment. Lee was shocked. That's basically a cheat skill. The more gear Smith wore, the stronger he became. He could take on our guy, Emma, and Dylan all at once if he wanted. But Smith wasn't looking for a fight. Instead, he invited them to join his group. In this situation, our guy agreed immediately. The players claimed they'd all met in B3, but trust was thin. Smith gave a speech to boost morale, stepping toward the door first. But when he turned, no one followed. Smith's face said it all. Huh? Why aren't you coming with me? Dwayne kept shouting, trying to rally everyone together, but nobody was budging. Our guy? He'd had enough of waiting around. He turned to Emma and Dylan, asked them point blank if they trusted him. Once they gave the nod, Lee made his move, with or without the rest of the group. Of course, the complaints started flying, but Lee shut that down fast. He wasn't about to waste time convincing people who had nowhere to go. Instead, he looked at Dwayne, the one who seemed the most aggressive, and invited him along. The second Dwayne agreed, suddenly everyone else wanted in. Classic herd mentality. One person moves, the rest scramble to follow. Smart play by our guy. So the whole squad stepped into floor B3-1-1. Right in front of them stood a massive red crystal, with a stop line marking the boundary. The mission sounded simple, a staring contest. Survive it, and make it out of B3-1-1 alive. But what really hooked Lee was the second reward, a random passive skill. And since he's got the ability to stack infinite passives, that prize was non-negotiable. He had to claim it. Behind the crystal was a door. All you had to do was cross over and reach it. Relief washed over Lee because this matched exactly what he remembered. He also knew what kind of monster was about to show up. The system announced the contest was starting, warning everyone to wait for the signal. But you know how it goes. There are always reckless players who think rules don't apply to them. One guy stepped past the stop line. Instantly, a message flashed. False start. Lee warned his squad, no matter what happens, don't break eye contact. But more fools ignored the rules and crossed anyway. And then Dylan, of all people, thought he could just dash to the door. Big mistake, my dude. The crystal pulsed, then exploded, shards flying like deadly missiles. Every player who ignored the rules got shredded. Emma slipped up too. Her gaze wandered for just a moment, and a shard locked onto her. If it weren't for Lee stepping in to block it, she'd have been done for. Even in that chaos, some players started stealing souls from the fallen. And that's when the nightmare of this floor arrived. The monster called Miette, but let's just call him the Fool. His eyes are blind, but he's got a pair right on his chest. One greedy player, juiced up with a haste skill, thought he could outrun the Fool. Bad call. The Fool sliced him apart effortlessly, like it was nothing. He wasn't even trying. That's how terrifying this monster really is. Another player thought he could take on the Fool. Big mistake. He lunged forward, and in an instant his head was crushed. That's when the punishment truly began. Every single player who crossed the line before the signal, their fate was sealed. Heads blown apart, bodies torn to pieces, crushed without mercy. Lee turned to Dwayne and laid it out straight. Even if they combined all their strength, they had zero chance of killing this monster. The only way out was to play by the room's rules. Out of all those reckless players, only one survived the initial slaughter, Dylan. And the only reason he made it was because of his jump skill, letting him leap several meters forward. That's how he managed to escape the lions back in the maze too. He almost reached the door this time, but the Fool moved like lightning, caught him, and ended him right there. If Dylan had just listened to our guy's instructions, he wouldn't have died like that. Lee gathered the squad and explained the next step. Now was the moment they could blink, but only when the monster turned around. Other than that, eyes open at all times. He reminded them the mission was literally a staring contest. As long as they kept their gaze locked on the Fool's chest eyes, they'd survive. He added more rules. No screaming, no grabbing souls or equipment from the dead, just walk slowly toward the door. And because Emma had that bad habit of shouting, he reminded her twice not to scream. With the Fool busy crushing Dylan's body, this was their chance to move. Two players in the squad actually listened and followed Lee's instructions. But soon enough, the Fool turned his gaze toward them. He moved in close, trying to provoke them into breaking the contest. The rules were simple. Don't look away, don't close your eyes, don't react. Fail and you're dead. The woman panicked, touched the other player, instant death. The man screamed, same result. The Fool doesn't forgive mistakes. Our squad kept moving forward, but then the Fool appeared behind them. Everyone froze, except Lee. He stayed calm, kept his demeanor steady. Even with the monster breathing down their necks, they could still move. As the Fool extended his arms to grab them, Lee activated his passive skill, breathing. Thanks to it, he could control his breath, stay calm, and even help the others by grabbing their arms and rushing them forward. But then came the worst-case scenario. The Fool moved ahead, blocking their path, and declared the staring contest directly. Emma was the target. At first, she held her ground, staring at his chest eyes. But the Fool had a trick, another hidden eye inside his mouth. The moment he revealed it, Emma slipped. She made a sound. And in this game, even the smallest mistake means death. Emma, for just a brief moment, called out to our guy for help. but it was already too late. The second she made that sound, her fate was sealed. The fool didn't hesitate. He beheaded her right in front of Lee and Dwayne. Her arms were severed too, and Lee still held on to one of them without flinching. What a brutal tragedy. Honestly, Emma didn't deserve this. She was short-lived in the journey, but she brought something good to the squad. Losing her like that hit hard. The moment her head hit the ground, another player was still crawling, barely alive. The fool leapt instantly, finishing the job. Lee, knowing what had to be done, took Emma's soul. He even told Dwayne to grab some souls too, but Dwayne refused. So Lee claimed Dylan's soul as well. Together, the duo pushed forward and reached the door. Dwayne stepped through first, while Lee, even at that last second, refused to look back at the monster. The fool's voice echoed, "Don't go," but Lee kept his eyes forward. Inside, Lee was still holding Emma's arm. Even he felt the weight of her loss. Anger burned in him. He couldn't save her. But the mission reward came through. 7 souls. He used them to upgrade all his passive skills. On top of that, he gained a new one, swordsmanship. And this wasn't just about swords. It boosted any weapon he wielded. A huge upgrade, but there was no time to breathe. The next mission triggered immediately. Be a burning person, survive, and exit be 3-3-1. With one condition, reduce the number of living organisms. In plain terms, you had to kill something alive. Before stepping into the next space, Lee placed Emma's arm down with respect. She was a good person. If she'd lived longer, maybe she could have become a true companion. And I know some of you are thinking, wait, if Emma died, maybe she'll resurrect like Lee has before in this hell called LAG? But no, Lee made it clear. Emma earned eternal rest. Only he has the ability to resurrect here, carrying all his memories and experiences. Dwayne then offered his hand, a gesture of truce. A way of saying, let's not kill each other. Lee accepted, but with a warning. Unless Dwayne planned to stab him when his guard was down, Lee had no intention of killing him. Still, our guy calculated the situation. If betrayal came, he was confident he could take Dwayne down. But he also saw the other possibility, that Dwayne could become a trustworthy ally. And in LAG, trust is priceless. They stepped through the door together. An icy field stretched out before them. And remember, the mission demanded they kill a living thing. That included players. Lee, having cleared this floor before, already knew the brutal truth. Kill Dwayne or be killed. Luckily, our guy had the skill light. Everyone thought it was just a flashlight, but nope. It could actually cover his whole body, warming him up without effort. That gave Lee a huge advantage. Meanwhile, Dwayne was freezing, teeth chattering as they pressed forward. Lee, having cleared this place before, knew the truth. There were no living beings here, which meant the mission condition, reduce the number of living organisms, pointed to one brutal option. Wait for the right moment and kill Dwayne. The alternative was to hold out until other players arrived, but that was risky. Staying too long in this frozen hell could mean death. As they moved, they stumbled upon a cave. Both entered cautiously, knowing danger could be lurking. But Lee was thrown off. This cave hadn't existed in his past runs. That alone was unsettling. And here's the funny part. Our guy even tried to comfort Dwayne, telling him to endure a little longer. Like, bro, you're plotting to kill your companion and still playing the nice guy. That's cold in more ways than one. Lee reminded himself, if nothing came out of this cave, he'd have no choice but to kill Dwayne. At the end of the cave, they found what looked like a black tree. Dwayne stepped forward first, giving Lee the perfect chance to strike. But then Lee realized something. The mission condition was to kill any living thing. A tree counts as living. If he destroyed it, the requirement would be met. Unfortunately, it wasn't a tree at all, just charcoal shaped like one. So Lee used his flame skill, igniting the charcoal and creating fire to shield Dwayne from the cold. And here's the thing. Despite being betrayed countless times, Lee still believed in giving people a chance if they showed kindness. As they sat by the fire, Lee chatted with Dwayne and quickly realized how clever he was. Which meant one thing. Dwayne probably already figured out the mission condition was to kill Lee. That realization hit hard. Lee regretted not taking the chance earlier. But there was no time to dwell. Lee wanted to keep exploring the cave, and then the unexpected happened. 2 players emerged from the back. Anton Reed and Bree Hudson. Our guy asked if they were lovers. Turns out they were. And the hilarious part, Anton looked at Lee and Dwayne and asked, "What about you two? Like, are they a couple?" Dwayne's jaw practically hit the ice, and Lee just stared like, "Bro, the only thing I'm married to is survival." The audacity of Anton. Lee pressed further, asking if Anton and Bree met each other inside LAG. They claimed they'd been lovers long before arriving. But Lee wasn't buying it. He's no fool. He immediately figured out they were lying. The 2 players kept running their mouths, but Lee wasn't fooled. He knew there was no point in wasting time with liars. So our guy pushed deeper into the cave, even as Anton and Bree tried to stop him, insisting there was nothing back there. Suspicious much? It was almost too obvious they didn't want him looking. But Lee doesn't take orders. He decides for himself. Dwayne followed, and even he realized it. Those 2 weren't weren't real lovers. And sure enough, deeper inside they found the truth. Two bodies, a man and a woman, shot dead. But here's the confusing part. Anton and Bree didn't carry weapons. So how did they pull it off? Lee recognized it instantly. It wasn't guns, it was a skill, one he'd seen before. He explained to Dwayne the real objective of this mission: kill another player to advance. Turns out Dwayne already knew. Then came the footsteps. The liars were back. Anton stepped out of cover, activating his skill, Intangible Sword. But before he could strike, Lee snapped into action. He unleashed light, blinding Anton's vision, then dashed forward and landed a clean hit straight to Anton's head. Instant kill. From his corpse, Lee looted 2 souls, one from Anton himself, and another from the victims Anton and Bree had already harvested. Now only Bree remained. And the problem? She was waiting at the cave's center, positioned perfectly. If Lee and Dwayne rushed her, they'd be dead. Her skill turned her arms into revolvers. Dangerous, but not strong enough to pierce through a body. So Lee needed a plan. First, he asked Dwayne what active skills he had. Then he calculated Bree's weakness. Her bullets couldn't penetrate a shield. That's when the plan clicked. As Bree aimed at the entrance, Anton's body suddenly dragged forward. Dwayne was carrying it like a meat shield. Bree fired, but the bullets couldn't break through. Dwayne was safe. The moment Bree had to reload, Lee struck. He knew her guns needed 2 seconds, more than enough time. First, he hurled his pickaxe. Bree thought she could dodge, but Lee had another card to play: Masked Lion's Growl. The skill radiated fear, freezing her in place just long enough. The pickaxe landed perfectly, slicing into her throat. She was still alive, but barely. With her last breath, Bree tried to drag Lee down with her. The only thing he could rely on now were his passive skills: tough skin and strong bone. But before she could finish him, Dwayne hurled Anton's corpse at her, knocking her out cold. Lee didn't waste time. He handed his pickaxe to Dwayne, urging him to finish her off so the mission would be complete. But Dwayne froze. He couldn't do it. Our guy didn't hesitate for a second. He stepped in and ended Bree himself. From her body, Lee claimed 2 more souls, bringing his total to 5. Then he returned to the back of the cave, where the 2 true lovers lay dead. He aligned their bodies carefully, paying his respects, wishing them peace, hoping they'd be together if heaven exists. It was a rare moment of quiet humanity from someone who's been hardened by LAG. Dwayne arrived, still shaken, but made his choice. He would continue with Lee, though he made it clear he didn't want to kill anyone. Lee accepted that. As long as Dwayne didn't stand in his way, he didn't mind the company. Then came the discovery. Hidden near the door was a treasure. Dwayne helped break the wall, revealing a weapon, the red flame sword. It radiated heat energy, boosted agility, and could even act as a heater. Since Lee had a new toy, he passed his old pickaxe to Dwayne. And in a surprising move, he even handed the flame sword to Dwayne, because Lee had his light skill to keep himself warm. Generous, but calculated. With the mission complete, they pressed forward. At the end of the room, 2 paths appeared: B3-3-2 or B3-2. This was new. Lee's past encounters offered no guidance here. Dwayne let Lee decide, promising he wouldn't blame him even if the choice led to a harder floor. Lee chose B3-2. And for those wondering, how did Dwayne clear the mission without killing anyone? In LAG, common missions apply to everyone who enters TOG. So even without blood on his hands, he passed. Before pressing forward, Lee and Dwayne needed a breather. Our guy sat back, thinking it through. He had 11 souls in hand, but chose not to consume them yet, saving them for the right moment. With solid equipment and the flame sword ready, he knew he'd be fine down to the 5th basement floor. Still, he couldn't ignore his biggest weakness. He needed 2 strong active skills. Passive skills alone wouldn't cut it forever. After resting, they stepped into B3-2. The mission window popped up. 2 goals: make a transaction and get rid of something heavy. The rewards? Generous. But the room was packed. 38 players, some running shops, trading souls for items. And then there was that blood-stained curtain in the back, practically begging for curiosity. One shopkeeper called out to Lee. His name was Song Wai. Song had some tempting goods: stamina restorer potions and a skill stone containing the passive composed mind. He priced the potion at 2 souls. Lee countered with 1. They argued back and forth until Lee made a final offer: both the potion and the skill stone for 2 souls. Now, these shops existed because of whatever was behind that curtain. Players wanted souls to strengthen themselves before facing it. The transaction process was simple. Both sides extend their left hand, holding the items to exchange. But Song thought he was clever. He snatched the souls and immediately used them to boost his skill to level 7, refusing to hand over the items. Worse, he had backup, allies ready to jump Lee. Our guy didn't waste words. He made it clear: return the souls or die. Song kept spewing nonsense, so Lee kicked him hard, broke his arm, then drove a hammer straight through his cheek. Even then, Song could have saved himself by giving the souls back. He refused, and that refusal sealed his death. One of Song's allies tried to rush in, but Dwayne slammed him against the wall, backing Lee up. Dwayne still clung to kindness, thinking maybe problems could be solved without blood. But in LAG, kindness is a death sentence. He'd learned soon enough. This place is kill or be killed. With Song dead, Lee reclaimed 4 souls. Then he turned to Dwayne, laying down the law. Put my life in danger, and I'll kill you too, even if you try to stop me. The tension was thick. Lee now stood against Song's allies, and maybe even Dwayne, if he got in the way. Song's allies froze for a moment, confused. Lee and Dwayne had entered together, and now it looked like they were about to fight each other. That hesitation cost them. One of them lunged at Dwayne's back, but our guy snapped into action, blasting light to blind the attacker. Dwayne seized the opening, landing a devastating counter that dropped him instantly. Then the rest swarmed Lee. But here's the thing, just by reading the aura of their skills, Lee could tell exactly what they were about to use and how to counter it. He unleashed his low-level flame, blinding their vision, then hurled his hammer, smashing one of them down. Another enemy closed the distance, using haste to dodge the flame and even landing a clean strike. But his sword couldn't cut through Lee's arm. Strong bone and tough skin held firm. And of course, what awaited that enemy next was death. The other 2 rushed in, but they met the same fate. At this point, nobody here could match Lee. With bodies dropping, free souls scattered across the floor, ripe for collection. Lee turned to Dwayne, correcting him once more. Kindness here means early death. And for the first time, Dwayne accepted it. He killed his enemy, finally realizing he couldn't avoid bloodshed anymore. His perspective shifted. Survival in LAG meant killing. Lee added another passive skill to his growing collection. But what stood out was the reaction of the other players. None of them interfered. Makes sense. They'd only just met Song and his allies. Why risk their lives for strangers? Then the tension spiked. A voice echoed from behind the blood-stained curtain. But before we shift to what's waiting there, Yu Byung-ho approached the duo. Lee, cautious, consumed 11 souls to upgrade Catch Breath to level 6, letting him recover stamina quickly. He wasn't here to fight. He had no ulterior motives. He wanted to join Lee and Dwayne, not just because they were strong, but because of whatever was lurking behind that curtain. Behind the curtain stood the nightmare itself, a massive rock monster known as the Megalithic Man. And remember, the mission spelled it out clearly. Get rid of something heavy. Well, here it was, a walking mountain of stone. Yu Byung revealed the injuries he'd taken from Song's allies, wounds that should have been fatal. But what shocked Lee was how you had healed them. Turns out, you possessed a skill that could restore injuries. The higher the level, the more fatal wounds it could mend. For Lee, this was groundbreaking. He'd never seen such a skill before. It meant new passive skills existed in LAG, ones he hadn't encountered. And deep down, he felt a chilling thought. If he died here, this might be his last life. No more resurrection. Facing the Megalithic Man, Lee upgraded Strong Bone to level 7. He knew the truth. He, Dwayne, and you couldn't kill this monster alone. But there was another way. He shouted to the room, laying down 2 choices. Join forces to take down the monster, or fight against him, Dwayne and you. Simple as that. If no one moved, Lee was ready to slaughter them, take their souls, and power up enough to stand a chance. Yu Byung was stunned. Wait, what? Where did this option come from? The poor guy had just joined the duo and was already dragged into war. That's when Mark Rowan stepped forward. His skill was strong voice, and while he wasn't the official leader, nobody dared to challenge him. Mark read the situation clearly. He wasn't foolish enough to pick a fight with Lee. In fact, he agreed, at least partially, with Lee's plan. But before they could strategize further, the monster broke free. The bars holding it shattered like twigs. The Megalithic Man was unleashed. And despite its massive, rock-solid body, its speed was terrifying. It dashed forward, crushing multiple players instantly. One punch was enough to erase hope. A colossal body, absurd strength, and speed that defied its size. This was no ordinary fight. This was survival against a living catastrophe. Lee shouted for everyone to spread out, keep their distance, and focus their ranged skills on the monster's legs. But fear had already gripped the crowd. Most players were too terrified to listen. The beast dashed again, crushing more bodies under its weight. Realizing hesitation would only mean death, our guy ditched the idea of waiting for cooperation. He began collecting the souls of fallen players, determined to strengthen himself. That's when Mark Rowan stepped up. Using his strong voice skill, he roared Lee's instructions across the room, forcing the players to snap out of their panic. Finally, they started firing ranged attacks at the monster's legs. But let's be real, no amount of scattered skills was going to bring down this walking fortress. Lee ordered Dwayne to gather souls too, telling him to level up fast because both of them would need to lunge at the monster head-on. Players kept dropping one after another. Every attempt to approach the Megalithic Man ended the same way, crushed, torn apart, erased. Lee managed to collect a total of of 19 souls. Meanwhile, Mark unleashed his strongest move, Time Bomb, planting it directly on the monster. The explosion went off, but barely scratched it, and in the next instant, Mark was crushed, along with everyone standing behind him. Dwayne stepped in, activating his strength boost skill, raising his power by 50%. He swung the pickaxe with everything he had. The hit landed, slight damage, but damage nonetheless. Proof the monster wasn't invincible. But then Dwayne lowered his guard for just a moment. That was all it took. The megalithic man's massive hand closed around his arm. And just like that, Dwayne had to say goodbye to it. The megalithic man loomed over the battlefield, preparing to crush Dwayne with a fatal blow. But Dwayne wasn't done yet. He unleashed his other skill, Stamp Kick, staggering the monster just long enough to halt its attack. Thankfully, his arm was fine. Even though the beast had grabbed it, his strengthening skill kept the bones intact. Without it, that arm would have been shattered. Dwayne countered hard, landing another mark on the monster. That's when Lee finally stepped in from behind, smashing it and forcing the giant to kneel. Our guy wasn't holding back anymore. He upgraded Strong Bone to level 9 and Tough Skin to level 6. Then he threw a punch. And yes, it worked. His fists actually damaged the monster. One punch after another, Lee kept hammering away, proving he could take this thing down with sheer force. But Yu Byung suddenly shouted a warning. One of the players had fired an explosive ball, aiming straight at Lee. Thanks to Yu's call, Lee dodged just in time. And this right here showed the ugly truth. Players were waiting for any chance to kill the strong, hoping to steal their souls and power up. One fool even tried sneaking up from behind. Bad move. Lee ended his life instantly. And honestly, these idiots wasted a golden opportunity. Instead of focusing on the monster, they tried to kill Lee. Their greed sealed their fate. So Lee shifted his plan. Let the monster thin out the herd, then collect the souls to grow stronger. Brutal, but smart. He even told Yu Byung to gather souls too. And among the chaos, some players weren't completely stupid. They followed Lee's instructions, collecting souls as well. One soul lay in the middle, and both Lee and another player locked eyes on it. The player used Jump, thinking he'd snatch it first, but he didn't check his surroundings. The monster rushed from behind and crushed him instantly. What a buffoon. Now the megalithic man turned its attention to Lee. This time, our guy didn't dodge. He wanted to test the limits of his defense passives. So he braced himself and took the hit head on. Oh boy, the megalithic man's blow was the kind that could erase someone in a single strike, but Lee stood his ground. Thanks to strong bone and tough skin, he survived what should have been instant death. Our guy countered immediately, lunging for the monster's eye. But this wasn't just a dumb rock beast. It reacted fast, shoving Lee back. And then came the shocker. The monster actually backed off. For the first time, Lee saw it retreat, as if it understood that fighting him was dangerous. Intelligence. Lag was changing, and even Lee was stunned. The other players watched in disbelief. They saw Lee hold his ground against the monster, but instead of rallying, many of them schemed. They wanted to wait for the right chance. Kill the monster, then take down Lee to steal his souls. Among them was a beautiful girl, though she didn't seem to share their plans. The monster charged again. One fool thought his level 3 steel skin could withstand the damage like Lee did. Wrong. He was crushed instantly. Then came a terrified girl who froze and screamed instead of dodging. Dwayne rushed in, pushing the monster aside and saving her. But the beast countered immediately. Dwayne was about to take a fatal hit until Lee shouted at him. Dwayne reacted, using his hammering skill to absorb part of the impact. He lost his balance, though, and the monster prepared a guaranteed fatal follow-up. That's when Yu Byung stepped in. Using Rapid Step, he distracted the monster just long enough to save Dwayne's life. The beast turned its fury on weaker players, slaughtering them without hesitation. And Lee? He didn't move to save them. He knew the truth. In LAG, saving someone only meant they'd stab you in the back later. From nearly 40 players, only 7 remained alive: Lee, Dwayne, Yu Byung, and 4 others. Lee's first priority was clear: find out who had thrown that explosive ball at him earlier. Yu Byung pointed to the culprit. Lee decided that man would die first, then he'd deal with the monster. The megalithic man shifted its focus to the beautiful girl. It always targeted the weakest first, but she dodged, her agility boosted by 5% thanks to her metal equipment. The trio moved in with precision. Yu Byung's job was to shake the monster's balance. Dwayne's role was to smash its supporting leg with Stamp Kick, and Anja followed up with Ice Pick, freezing one of its arms for a brief moment. That's when Yu, in his dramatic fashion, shouted he would save Nunim, calling the young woman an old lady, which had everyone side-eyeing him mid-battle. Still, he did his part and darted away. Dwayne nearly destroyed the monster's joint, and that was all he needed. With its heart exposed, our guy drove his flame sword straight into it. The beast collapsed, and the system rewarded him with 8 souls. Besides the trio, 3 survivors remained: Jeff, Sanchez, and Anna. But Lee hadn't forgotten. One of them had tried to kill him earlier. That meant one of them had to die. He approached Sanchez, asking what his highest skill was. Sanchez refused twice. Lee pressed one more time, and Sanchez finally revealed it, the same blue energy ball that had targeted Lee before. That sealed his fate. Sanchez attacked first, thinking he had the upper hand. Lee cut through the ball effortlessly, dodged the feint, and countered with a fatal strike to the throat. Sanchez dropped dead instantly. With the monster gone and Sanchez eliminated, the group advanced to B4, a floor where they could finally rest. Lee came out on top of the contribution ranking, earning 10 souls and several rewards. Skull General's Jaw, containing the active skill Bone Blade, allowing the user to forge a sword from their own bone, its strength scaling with their physical attributes. A random skill exchange coin, rare item usable only through the Black Merchant. Skull Army, another skill tied to the mask, letting the user summon a skull soldier proportional to their own strength. Lee now had new tools, new power, and more souls to fuel his growth. But in LAG, every reward only sets the stage for the next nightmare. The squad regrouped after their rewards, Dwayne with his new armor skill, you with something useful tucked away, and Lee donning the Skull General's mask. And Ja couldn't help but comment on his new look, teasing him that with that tense attitude he'd never be popular with women. Funny enough, she seemed to like that side of him anyway. Moving forward, they faced 4 doors. In the past, only 2 existed, B4-1-1 and B4-2-1. But now a third option appeared, B4-3-1, larger and different in design. That alone hinted at greater rewards, but also greater danger. Both Dwayne and you left the choice to Lee. And of course, our guy picked B4-3-1. And Jia and the others followed. The problem? No handle. Touching it did nothing. Dwayne tried brute force, straining against the door, but it barely budged. Frustrated, he tapped into his passive strength boost, finally forcing it open and holding it long enough for everyone to pass through. The mission revealed itself. Kill all the beasts in this space. Lee also received a private mission. If he avoided killing any players, he'd earn 20 souls. A rare chance to gain without betrayal. Inside, statues of wolves lined the room, a red carpet stretched across the floor, and in the center lay a stunning naked woman, begging for help. The trap was obvious. Any man who looked too long would be tempted. You nearly fell for it, stepping forward before catching himself. Jeff, however, gave in. He answered her call, touched her hand, then leapt back as the woman melted away. Luckily for him, it was a reward, 12 souls granted for answering her plea. But it wasn't over. The golden dust from her body spread across the statues, awakening them. The wolves' bodies hardened like diamond, their durability unmatched. The true mission began, a test between those who helped and those who didn't. And here's a quick reminder. In LAG, players can survive without food or sleep, but those desires still exist, which means temptation, greed, and fear are always part of the game. The wolves came alive, surrounding Jeff in an instant. Dwayne wanted to rush in to help, but Lee stopped him. Charging recklessly would only get him killed. Jeff fought back with his active skill, turning his arm into steel, and managed to take down one wolf. But the victory was short-lived. He lost a leg almost immediately, and the pack tore him apart, eating him alive. With Jeff failing the helper's trial, the burden shifted to those who hadn't helped. The wolves lined up in front of the survivors. At first, Lee thought they'd leap forward, but instead, they opened their mouths in unison, preparing a coordinated beam attack meant to annihilate everyone. Lee's instincts kicked in. He dashed forward, shouting for an all-out attack. As the beams fired, he dodged and smashed one wolf with his hammer. But their bodies were diamond hard, and the counterattack nearly broke him. Only his passives kept his bones intact. Lee tried using Bone Blade, forming a sword from his own bones, but the skill consumed too much stamina to maintain. Dwayne dashed in, closing the distance. Thanks to his armor skill, he conjured a shield to block the beams. Lee was ambushed by another wolf, but he reacted fast, striking its mouth before it could fire. The wolf exploded, leaving 9 left. The wolves didn't give Lee a chance to breathe. They immediately targeted him again, and Ja held her ground, blocking beams with her freezing skill. But Anna, instead of fighting, she cowered behind their Nuna, screaming. Dwayne's shield skill finally hit its absolute limit. Still, relying purely on his raw muscle, he pushed through and smashed one of the wolves to pieces. Over on the other side of the fight, you activated his speed skill to run interference and distract the pack. But the second he let his guard down, a wolf slammed into him. The impact was brutal. It completely crushed his spine. Just as the beast closed in to finish the job, Dwayne lunged forward and obliterated the monster, saving you at the last possible second. He was still breathing, but his back was entirely shattered. You might be wondering, why doesn't he just use his healing ability? The truth is, he actually tried. His skill level is simply way too low to fix something as severe as a snapped spine. With that chaos out of the way, exactly 5 wolves remained on the battlefield. Lee and Dwayne flanked the remaining pack, stepping in from opposite sides. First, our guy launched his hammer through the air, instantly wiping out one target. Dwayne followed up by charging straight into another, crushing it to dust with sheer brute force. The next wolf fired an energy beam straight at Lee. He dodged it and countered with a punch, but the blow barely left a scratch. Our guy is definitely still lacking in the physical strength department. Changing tactics, he trusted his passive skills and caught the next beam with his bare hands. The resulting force completely destroyed the wolf. Amazingly, Lee kept his arm perfectly intact, walking away with just some lightly scorched skin. Suddenly, another beast ambushed him from the side. Dwayne immediately intercepted and saved him. Even though, let's be honest, our guy had the situation completely under control and didn't really need the help. That left just one wolf, which Anna swiftly took out using her skill, Big Hand. I'll give you 3 guesses as to what that skill does, and the first 2 don't count. Let's just say whoever named that ability wasn't exactly feeling creative that day. Back on the ground, you knew exactly how bad his condition was. Feeling like nothing more than dead weight, he begged the group to just kill him right there. Lee wasn't having any of that. Instead, our guy handed him a health potion. It wasn't a miracle cure that could fix a broken spine, but it would at least numb the agony. Right after that, Anna bolted for the exit, insisting that she had to be the first one through the door. Watching her rush ahead, Lee immediately put 2 and 2 together. This definitely tied into whatever private mission she had been hiding. She pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge an inch. Without warning, the entire room plunged into darkness. Looks like they aren't out of the woods just yet. The mission is far from over. Pitch black darkness swallowed the entire room. A massive dark wolf dropped from the ceiling, aiming straight for Anna. Just like that, she was gone, killed instantly. Meet the Shadow Wolf. This monstrosity can pull off literally whatever it wants as long as it's in the dark, making it the true boss of this mission. Thankfully, Lee has actually crossed paths with this exact monster before, so he knows exactly what they are up against. This beast is notoriously picky and insanely strong. Even worse, as long as it stays hidden inside a shadow, it is completely immortal. Our guy decided to handle this fight solo and immediately started calling the shots. He ordered Njia to activate her light skill and create a protective barrier around the rest of the group. Since Lee is the one risking his neck against this nightmare, he laid down his terms right then and there. He is taking Jeff's soul, Anna's soul, and when this is over, that wolf's soul belongs to him too. The monster's one fatal flaw is light, so our guy readied his light skill for the perfect moment. The first attack came from above. Lee countered by swinging his flame sword, managing to land a scratch on the beast, but the wound closed up and healed in the blink of an eye. The next ambush came bursting straight up from underground. Lee was completely dialed in at this point. He knew he had to end this fight in one single, devastating blow before the creature figured out that his sword was actually giving off flames. As the beast launched itself forward once again, our guy unleashed his flame skill. The fire illuminated the space, cutting off the beast's escape route and making it impossible for the wolf to retreat into the shadows to regenerate. Forced into a corner, the wolf lunged one last time. Tracking its every movement perfectly, Lee aimed his light skill straight at it, ready to finish the job. The shadow wolf actually froze for a split second, completely throwing off Lee's timing just as he was gearing up for a decisive counterattack. Then, the beast launched itself forward with absolutely insane speed. Lee vaulted into the air to dodge, but the wolf kept the pressure coming, striking again before he could even land. Digging deep, our guy stood his ground, endured the onslaught, and finally drove his flame sword straight through the monster. The moment the beast dropped dead, the lights flickered back on. Mission accomplished. As expected, our guy took the MVP spot, sitting at the top with a solid 55% contribution rate. That victory bumped his total stash up to 80 souls. Looking ahead, the squad faced 4 different doors. Lee picked B4-2-1. Why that one? Because he always prefers taking the route that pushes them as far ahead as humanly possible. Naturally, the rest of the team agreed to follow his lead. They walked into the next room and immediately ran into 2 players, Anil Kaur and Kim Jina. And get this, they were full-on making out. Even with a heavily armed squad barging right in, they didn't skip a beat. You'd think they booked a romantic honeymoon suite instead of fighting for their lives in a nightmare dungeon. Talk about audacity. Lee's survival instincts flared up instantly. He sensed danger from those 2, noting that they both boasted a peak skill level of 12. Not taking any chances, our guy spent some souls to upgrade his passive skills right then and there, making sure to leave exactly 51 souls in the bank for emergencies. Luckily, this area was a lag room, which meant there was a vendor inside. Gina finally took a break from her kissing session to suggest the squad prioritize treating Yu's shattered spine. Lee was already on the same page. His plan was to hit up the vendor and buy an antidote. However, Gina had already checked the inventory and warned them that the vendor was fresh out of antidotes. Instead, she pointed them towards something called the recovery room. This was entirely new territory. Our guy had never even heard of a room like that before. They dragged Yu inside and carefully placed him into the medical capsule. Fixing a completely crushed spine isn't a free service. The machine demanded 124 souls for the procedure. Since Yu only had 21 souls to his name, he was short exactly 103 souls. Now, if the squad pooled their resources, they could totally cover the bill and save him. But let's be real about the stakes here. Lee had absolutely zero intention of draining his lifeline for you. He is completely determined to survive and escape this hellhole called LAG, and he needs his currency to do it. Dwayne and Njia felt the exact same way. Njia actually opened her mouth for a second, almost suggesting they chip in, but you cut her off. You fully grasped the harsh reality of their situation and calmly asked Dwayne to pull him out of the capsule. He knew the score. In this place, your souls are your lifeblood. What's the point of everyone going broke to save him, only for him to catch a stray attack and die as dead weight in the very next room? It is absolutely heartbreaking. Poor Yu really didn't deserve a brutal ending like this, just like our lost girl Emma. Taking matters into his own hands, Yu chose to dictate his own conclusion. He looked straight at Lee and asked our guy to end his life right there. Fully accepting his fate, Yu transferred all 21 of his remaining souls over to Lee, asking him to share them with the rest of the team. Our guy gave him a quick, painless end. Rest in peace, Yu. You were a solid player. Now, you've got to understand something about Lee. It's not that he's a cold, emotionless robot. He has just been forced to do this exact same thing in the past to people he'd known way longer than you. Just as Lee was about to divide Yu's hard-earned souls with the rest of the squad, Anil crashed the party. Using his level 12 teleportation skill, he blinked right into the middle of the group and snatched the souls for himself. Our guy reacted instantly, but Anil was fast enough to dodge the first strike. Not missing a beat, Lee cracked him hard. Right on cue, Dwayne stepped up, completely boxing Anil in. Feeling cornered, Anil tried to use his teleportation to escape, but Lee already knew exactly how this ability worked. He grabbed onto Anil, and they both warped back to the main room together. The moment they materialized, Anil's stamina tanked all the way to absolute zero. See, from past encounters, our guy knew the biggest flaw of the teleportation skill. If you physically connect with the user, you hitch a ride, and the stamina cost skyrockets for every extra passenger carried. With Anil completely drained, Lee didn't hesitate. He sliced off the thief's arm. Our guy was absolutely furious. His teammate had literally just died, and this complete scumbag decided to start causing trouble. To make his point crystal clear, Lee drove his blade straight through Anil's thighs. Screaming in pain, Anil finally surrendered and handed the stolen souls back. But Lee knew exactly how much of a trash player this guy was, so he executed him right on the spot. That left Gina. She actually had zero intention of picking a fight. Turns out, Anil wasn't even her real partner. She was just messing around with him. I guess her taste in men is about as bad as Anil's survival instincts. Still, she stood her ground, making it very clear that if Lee tried to kill her, she would absolutely go down swinging. Leaving her be for the moment, our guy headed back to the spot where he had put you to rest. After taking a moment to finish up there, he returned to the group and told Dwayne and Njia to go check out the peddler first. He decided to hang back in the main room for a bit, basically using the time to keep a very close eye on Gina, since he didn't trust her one bit. Once Dwayne and Njia finished their business, it was Lee's turn to browse. Right off the bat, he noticed this vendor was completely different from the last one they met. Checking out the skill inventory, our guy purchased 6 passive skills and 1 brand new active skill. Since he can only equip 2 active skills at a time, he tossed out his light skill and swapped it for electric shock. Next, he moved on to the item section. And that is when he saw something that left him absolutely speechless. The shock quickly morphed into pure, unadulterated rage directed squarely at Gina. Losing his mind completely, Lee stormed out of the vendor interface, marched straight up to her, and grabbed her by the neck. Lee was absolutely livid. He fully believed Gina had flat out lied to his face, so he demanded to know exactly what she did to the peddler's inventory. Earlier, she had sworn up and down that the vendor didn't carry any antidotes, yet our guy was staring right at them on the item list. The crazy part is that Gina was telling the absolute truth. When she browsed the shop, the vendor really wasn't selling any antidotes. Somehow, the system was letting our guy, and only him, purchase them. But honestly, it is a brutal realization because the timing couldn't be worse. It is far too late, and Yu is already gone. Lee's grip on her neck was so tight she was right on the verge of dying, though she was definitely gearing up to fight back. Right at that critical second, Dwayne stepped in and intervened. He explained to Lee that Gina wasn't making it up. When Dwayne checked the shop himself, there were 0 antidotes available. And Ja quickly chimed in and confirmed the exact same thing. For whatever mysterious reason, the items at the vendor completely changed for our guy alone. Catching her breath, Gina actually tried to comfort him a bit. She pointed out the harsh reality of their situation. Even if they had secured an antidote earlier, it wouldn't have saved you anyway. Healing a massive injury like a crushed spine inside that recovery room simply costs way too much. With that intense misunderstanding finally cleared up, the squad needs to shake it off. It is time to finalize their setup and get ready for whatever nightmare is waiting in the next room.